Hi guys, hopefully this video is coming out relatively quickly after whatever my last video was. I want to do a little announcement before we actually begin this video, so if you're not interested, you can go ahead and skip forward a little bit. First and foremost, I just wanted to thank you guys so much for 1.45 thousand subscribers. It's a crazy number, honestly, and this number is only getting bigger by the day. We are so close to 2,000, and it's wild to me that so many of you guys enjoy my content that much. The support has been crazy, especially on my recent videos. You guys are killing it. So I'm gonna keep up the videos. I'm gonna keep striving for more entertaining content for all you guys. And once again, thank you for letting me do what I love. I love making videos. I love making Yuri videos. And the fact that you guys will watch them, that means a lot. Last thing, I want to draw attention to some of my top commenters. I see a lot of you guys. I especially remember all of you who have been here since the start of my channel around a year ago. I remember all of you guys who come around constantly commenting. I see you guys. So just a quick thank you to everyone on this list because they honestly deserve it. And even if you aren't on this list, there's a high chance that I remember you. So once again, thank you. Sorry for the longer intro, but I truthfully have not dedicated enough time towards expressing how grateful I am to you guys. And with all that said, let's begin the video. As we can see from the title, I've made a serious and extreme lapse in judgment. Wadasha, or however Adachi pronounced it, have lied to you guys. This video is false, just go ahead and cancel me. I missed some Yuri announcements, I don't know how. All of my unfunny jokes aside, I actually somehow missed an upcoming Yuri series releasing, which actually really comes as a shock to me because I did a lot of research before making that video and somehow did not see an inch of this series anywhere. I'm guessing you guys haven't either since nobody mentioned it in this video, unless you guys were just trying to be nice and not embarrass me. If that's the case, stop it. This Yuri series though especially, I really want to talk about before it releases later this year, so let's talk about it. Amayo no Tsuki, also known as The Moon on a Rainy Night, is a Yuri romance manga written and illustrated by Kazushiro, who you guys might actually know for also creating Inugami-san to Nekoyama-san and Last Boss X Hero. Before we talk about the series, I want to for a second focus on the title. The Moon on a Rainy Night is not just a title, it's actually a metaphor, meaning things that you can't see with your eyes, just like the moon when it's hidden behind the rain. Now I don't want to analyze this title for too long, but I want to draw attention to this because this title is actually a theme that we see fairly often within this series itself. Although I haven't talked about any of the characters yet, you will see, especially if you read this series on your own time, that this metaphor in some way, shape, or form can be applied to most of the main characters in this reading. I thought that I'd give this some attention because I know that things like this are fairly easy to overlook. Now let's get into this series. Feeling dizzy on the way to her piano lessons, our main character, Saki, bumps into a mysterious girl who takes an immediate interest in the sheet music book that Saki had been carrying around. However, the girl, despite being clearly interested, remains silent. This girl also, after a short while, does some form of expression with her hands that Saki can't seem to comprehend, immediately ending the entire one-sided conversation with this mysterious girl just walking away. When Saki arrives at her piano lessons, her teacher, who's been teaching her since she was a kid, comes out and reveals that she's pregnant and intending on getting married soon, along with retiring and redirecting Saki to a new piano teacher. Our main character, Saki, finds herself in a state mimicking that of depression. Despite being around this person since she was a child, she in reality had no idea what kind of life her teacher had been leading outside of her piano lessons. This also ties directly back into the title, The Moon on a Rainy Night, something that Saki couldn't see with her own two eyes despite all of this happening right in front of her. The following day, on her very first day of high school, Saki, by pure coincidence, happens to be in the same class as this mysterious girl we saw previously, sitting directly next to her even. Before class can even begin, the homeroom teacher, Sekiguchi Satoko, makes her way over to the mysterious girl sitting next to Saki, whose name is revealed to be Oikawa Kanon. Not only is her name revealed, but surprisingly, even a condition that she suffers from is revealed as well. Oikawa Kanon is actually deaf, which kind of explains why she struggled to talk to Saki the day prior. Upon hearing this, the class asks some questions, which can be summed up as a terrible attempt at trying to be rude that comes off as ignorant instead. So Kanan takes it into her own hands to educate the audience along with her classmates, and ends her speech by stating that she does not need any additional help, basically refusing everyone in the class, including the teacher. Kanan's character is very straightforward, and for lack of a better word, Kanan is strong. She is a strong character. It's for this reason why her classmates don't exactly bode with her. This introduction of hers leads her to becoming a target within the class by multiple people, as they think she's cocky, overconfident, arrogant, maybe even rude. However, Saki, being absolutely captivated by Kanan, can't bring herself to just avoid her. So she takes it upon herself to talk to Kanan, ask questions to Kanan, learn more about Kanan. But this is shut down pretty quickly as Kanan refers back to her earlier statement about not needing any additional help, which is what she's assuming that Saki is trying to do. It's also here that we get a glimpse into the mind of Oikawa Kanan, as she states that it is impossible for her to think about what it'd be like to be in another person's shoes, and as the years go by, it gradually becomes increasingly harder for her to understand those that can hear normally. And she ends all of this by telling Saki, in the same way that she can't understand people who can't hear normally, Saki can't understand the feelings of people who have lost their hearing, and advises Saki to go make friends with people similar to her. This method of thinking comes across to me as interesting. It's almost as if Kanan views people who can hear as entirely different beings, and it's more than clear that she's completely given up on understanding them for whatever reason. This shows us that something occurred in Kanan's past that makes her view herself, a deaf person, and others that can hear normally as distant from each other, beings that are not inherently capable of understanding each other due to their circumstances. I think that this is a very interesting mindset for a character to have, but it's also just as much as a very flawed mindset that can act as a double-edged sword, because as people, there's only so much that we can do on our own. We need help from the people around us, but Kanan rejects this idea, believing that she can do everything on her own, which she will surely find out at some point that is not the case. There's nobody in this world who can do literally everything on their own. Following this conversation, those exact same people that Kanan calls similar to Saki turn out not to be so similar after all when they reveal their one-track mind on the whole matter, only talking about things that are within the scope of their own understanding, coming off as not only extremely ignorant, but also extremely rude and disrespectful towards Kanan. Despite Saki and this group of people who are similar because of their ability to hear, personality-wise and as people, they are not similar at all. And it doesn't take long for Saki to put the pieces together and realize that if Kanan has had to deal with people like this her whole life, people who scrutinize her for existing, people who treat her as some foreign object because of her lack of hearing, it's no surprise that she's adopted this headstrong persona that can't comprehend normal people and refuses to seek additional help from them. They've scrutinized her whole life. They've ostracized her over something that she can't control. Saki, after becoming aware of this, exits the conversation in a burst of rage and finds Kanan outside the school taking refuge from the downpouring rain, claiming that she's lost her umbrella. So Saki, who is determined to get closer to Kanan by any means necessary, goes and fetches an umbrella for the two of them to share. However, she for some reason didn't use it on the way back and let herself get completely drenched. She's a silly one, alright, which ironically becomes the thing that these two characters bond over. While Kanan claims that her ears aren't perfect, the same can be said about Saki's head, as she makes some questionable decisions and actions. However, it's due to those questionable decisions and actions that lead her towards getting closer to understanding Oikawa Kanan. Over the span of 30 plus chapters, we watch as these two unconventional characters unravel and figure out what the strange feelings that they have for each other are, all while dealing with impending pains from the past, from the present, and trying to understand each other and the people around them all the while. Before I conclude this segment and forget to state this series also has a lot to do with music. Music is a central component in the series that in a way connects every character. Practically everyone in the series is a musician or at least has some level of musical knowledge. Saki is currently a musician, learning the piano, being taught under Kanan's mother for the foreseeable future, and also takes a passion in it. This is something that she actually is able to bond with Kanan over. Kanan herself is also a former pianist who was actually very skilled at a young age, yet had to quit when she lost her hearing. Kanan's sister, who we're introduced to later on, is also a former pianist who quit after her sister quit. The girls we see bullying Kanan earlier are all in a band together. The friend of Kanan's sister, who's introduced later on in this series, is also a former pianist who had to quit after her condition worsened. Kanan's teacher, Miura, is very passionate and knowledgeable about music, and his daughter is also an aspiring pianist. Music is without a doubt a central theme in this series, and is something that is shared by everyone. Now that we've kind of concluded the talking about the characters, talking about the series, I want to take a deeper dive into what this series is trying to tell us. What is this series about? Why does this exist? Along with some of the things about this series that really stand out to me that I really like. First and foremost, this series, if it hasn't been made clear yet, is trying to spread awareness about disabilities. The core foundation of this series, Kanan's character, in a sense, is meant to represent the effects that bullying and isolation can have on someone. Being the center of unjust statements, exclusion, and a plethora of unwanted attention because of something that you can't control, it really only makes sense that similarly to Kanan, you are going to put up a wall and find yourself incapable of understanding the actions and circumstances of those around you. And while at least in my usual day-to-day life this is fairly uncommon, I also have at points in my life seen things like this happen firsthand, so this is a very real thing that happens whether we see it or not. This series is saying, hey, this is happening, this is very real, and I think it does a great job at pointing that out, while also periodically educating us and introducing new things that I personally didn't know about that comes with the struggle of being deaf. One of the most interesting things about this series regarding bullying is the transformation of Tomita. Tomita was a former bully towards Kanan. She was extremely rude, unjust, just because of the fact that she didn't like Kanan. However, later on in the story, Tomita actually begins losing her hearing. She begins suffering from sudden deafness, specifically in her right ear, and through a miraculous turn of events, she ends up having a one-on-one conversation with Kanan, where she acknowledges the struggle that Kanan went through, how difficult it must have been as Kanan has started losing hearing in both ears. Tomita genuinely apologizes, and Kanan resonates with Tomita. The series quite literally takes a character who was considered perfectly normal and puts them into the shoes of the person who they had been previously bullying. And it's through this transformation where that character is able to acknowledge what they've done and acknowledge how it must have felt. I think that this is a very unique way of converting a character, because while it is very abrupt, sudden deafness is also a very real thing. You can't control when or what happens to you, and this is the perfect example. It was the same for Kanan. She didn't control when she lost her hearing, yet she was subject to all that treatment, and Tomita, who likely thought that she'd be considered normal forever, got a taste of her own medicine that actually ends up changing her for the better. I think that this was a really interesting way to, I guess, transform a character, because someone normal ends up walking into the shoes of someone who's quote-unquote not normal, and it's through that where they realize that they've done some pretty messed up things. And before I conclude this video, there's one more thing that I absolutely want to take some time to focus on for just a little bit, and that is none other than the settings that this series features. To be quite honest with you guys, I don't really think I've ever seen any Yuri series portray the world or just feelings that a character may be going through so elegantly yet grainy, is how we can put it for lack of a better word. A lot of the settings in this series are extremely creative, like this one scene of Saki waltzing around at night. Her facial expression, it's unsettling, at least in my eyes, and paired with this radiant night and this desolate, grainy looking world that looks almost uninhabited, it really makes you feel a type of way, which is what I'm hinting at. It's not often that a setting from a Yuri series genuinely invokes a type of feeling like this. Like, this isn't a feeling that you get when you're reading a romance Yuri, or a romance manga in general for that matter. This is almost like a horror manga in a way. And this reminds me of Inyo Asano's settings, who is the author of Oyasumi Pun Pun, Solanin, Dead Dead Demons, Dead Dead Destruction. He features a lot of these realistic, grainy looking backgrounds paired with this desolate world. I think that what they captured is it's very creative. Let's just settle with that. It's hard to describe the type of feeling that this background evokes. It's really difficult. And this isn't something that the series only manages to pull off once or twice. We see this consistently. The use of visuals in this Yuri manga are superb. They're very different. I don't want to make it seem like I'm overreacting, but I feel like the visuals are definitely a huge part of what this series has to offer. So I'm very, very curious how this anime adaptation will portray these visuals. This really can either be a huge hit or miss opportunity. It's 50-50. An anime adaptation could absolutely butcher this or could absolutely perfect it. So yeah, I'm curious on that. But I really just wanted to acknowledge the scenery in this manga for a second, because it would be a huge miss if I talked about all this stuff yet somehow forgot to mention this beautiful artwork, which I've actually done quite a few times before in my videos, and you guys have corrected me. I'm sorry. That's going to conclude this video. I really hope you guys liked it, and I also really hope that you guys check out this series. This series is good. There is no buts, howevers. The series is something that I can recommend and think that if you like Yuri, you should check it out. Look forward to this anime adaptation later this year, and I'll see all you guys later.